Welcome back to another episode of the Geronimo Unfiltered Podcast. I'm Dozy, your host, and today we've got a very special guest with us. We've got Chris Lawrence with us.
Thanks for having me, mate. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's awesome, dude. So, look, what I'm going to go through in this episode, we met a little while ago. You reached out, I think you'd probably heard the pod. You might have seen an episode or two, and you reached out because of the fact that you've got this training company at the moment for Cert 3 and Cert 4.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that, but let's go right back to the start. Let's do a bit of origin story here, just to kind of set the scene. Let's start with Rowdy. Why do they call you Rowdy?
Well, Rowdy was actually given to me by Benny Gallier, former West Tigers player. I debuted when I was 17 years of age, still in high school. Basically, did one training session. Someone got injured. Wasn't supposed to even play. Then was thrown in front of 40,000 fans at Suncorp, got a try and debut, and basically went from being a nobody, just a school kid, to like back page of every paper that week. And I really, again, I was an introvert, but, I wasn't an overly shy kid, but I didn't really like the attention. And it was very much, when I first came through, very much an old school. You had to earn the respect of the older players. Like, right. You spoke unless you're spoken to, things like that. And so I was very much, I've got to earn their respect. Like, I've done nothing. Haven't done a pre-season. I've just come straight into this side. Yeah. And then I remember Tim Sheens, the coach, used to say, you're not a first grader until you play 50 games. Like, that's when
you're not a first grader until you played 50 games.
By 50 games, you've done a couple of pre-seasons, you've had some ups and downs with form, you've navigated that, you've definitely had an injury, and so you've understood all the highs and lows of being a first grader. You haven't just come in, had one or two good seasons and you're out. So for me, and it probably wasn't 50 games, it was probably my second year, and I was still only 18 and around that 30 games, and then it was Benny Gallier, who I just started feeling like, I've started to earn the respect and felt more comfortable, just started being myself again. And then it was like, oh, who's this kid? Settle down, Rowdy. You're a bit too rowdy. No, I don't think I said a word in my first, 6 games at the back end of 2006. Right. Because I was like, I've just met these guys, literally walked on the, hey, nice to meet you, everyone. I'm playing with you 2 days later. So that's where that sort of came from. And
you feel like once you get a nickname, you're sort of in?
Yeah, I think, and it stuck too, because everyone sort of joked about it. And I didn't mind. Like, it's one of those things that, it just, the randomest nickname will stick. And that's what it was. It was you had to earn the respect. So I'm like, well, I don't have the right to speak up in a meeting, because I haven't earned I'm just going to sit there, be quiet, earn the respect, do, my job on the field with my actions. And then once I started feeling like I had earned the respect and had earned that right, I could speak up, and that's where it came from.
A controversial question.
Yeah.
Do you reckon that's missing at the moment?
100%. But I think it is a generational thing.
Yeah.
There's a fine balance, and I saw it midway through my career where you need to give and empower, younger athletes coming through have a voice, because they, if it's in football sense, are going to have ideas and are going to, drive. They need to buy in, and for them to buy in, they need to have a say. However, too much, I think players, and I see it, they will come in first or second year, think this is the way to do it, but they haven't been through the hard road. They don't know what good is. So, perfect example, back in the day, if you were traveling, and at some occasions you might have just a double in a single bed, two teammates, it'd be not even a question. It would be whoever's played the most games. Seniority gets double bed.
Oh, 100%.
Nothing. But that...
What now?
That's starting to change, and that, and same thing with if you had, massages, automatically older guys go first. As a young guy, you knew you were the last one. You were out of that 5 o'clock. You had to hang around. You had to do all the shit little things.
Yeah.
Whereas I do know now in a lot of clubs, some players will know why. Like, why there's no difference.
My manager put into my contract.
Well, I think it's we're all equal. Which again, you as a teammate, you're all equal, but there's still these guys have earned the right.
So, as a bit of a recap on your career, you played 250 games for the Tigers.
Yep.
You played for Australia.
Yep.
In the centres?
Yeah, played centres, yeah. 5-6 games, yeah.
What were some of the real lowlights that you turned into a defining moment?
Every player has injuries, but for me, 2 injuries that were likened to car accidents. So dislocated my hip in 2011, and that was early in that season. We'd made a prelim, got beaten by a point. I feel we should probably gone all the way. I thought, our career could have been over, but I didn't want to miss out on a grant, and I thought, that could be it. So for me, the hardest thing about your hip was it was out for about 2.5 hours.
But how did it happen?
I'd taken a run, just got twisted, hip popped out.
Fuck.
Yeah, it was pretty fair. Most painful injury I've had. I've had some other, especially another horrific one later, but that was the most painful. And it was out for 3 hours, I think. And yeah, so fully out. So the trainer came onto the field and goes, "What's wrong?" And he goes,
he asked you what's wrong.
He goes, "You right?" I go, "I've dislocated my hip." And he goes, "Are you sure?" And I go, "Yes, I'm fucking sure. Like, I've got my hips out." And And so I couldn't move and got back, and they obviously give the green whistle and the morphine and then take you to the hospital. And then I was like, nah, I go, knock me out. Like, because with shoulder, sometimes they put it back in, and because it's such a big joint, we have to like put you under. So they put me under, and I said, when I came back, how did it all go? It's all back in. And it went well, and they go, oh, yeah, well, you could say that. We had 6 doctors and nurses standing your chest and like yanking it to get, because it's such a big joint. And so I think I was watching Matty John show, or footy, and one of the Fox shows, and said, Chris Lawrence major injury update from the doctor, could be potentially career threatening because of hip replacement and things like that. And the first time I'm hearing it, and then so I was straight away on the phone to the doctor, and he's like, yeah, if your hip's out of place for more than 2.5 hours, forget the medical term, but basically the top of the head of the joint would lose blood flow, which would have meant, if that happened, hip replacement, which would have meant my career would have been over. But I wouldn't 100% know. They'd have to wait 3 months and do a scan at 3 months. So I didn't know. So the first week, the pain after getting back in wasn't too bad. It was the mental side of things and not knowing. The unknown is like, is my career over? Is that it? Like,
and you heard that for the first time on TV?
Yeah, that my career could be over. It got to a point where I sat down with my physio, who I was sort of doing some work with at the time, and I just said, this is not doing me any good. I said, let's set a goal just to get back. And he said, well, why don't we just try and get back, for next year? It was round 3. I said, well, how quickly has anyone got back from a hip injury? And he said, I don't know, 3 months. And I said, all right, I'm going to come back and play in 90 days. And he's like, mate, like I just threw that out there. Look, let's just take your time. I said, well, there's no point taking my time. Like if we don't make it, we don't make it. But at least I know. So he mapped out a plan pretty much daily. You got to hit this target every single day. And for me, that just fully took my mind off the what if and the unknown. Right. So every day I came in, I knew where I was up to. I knew what target I had to hit. Whether it was day 14, I was walking without crutches. Day 21, I could do some bodyweight exercises, like little milestones I had to hit along the way to be able to make that target. And then before I knew it, I got into some contact, got into everything, and then basically got the all clear to play. And I think it wasn't 90 days. I think it was like 98 days, but there was a buy in there. So I'm like saying, I'm maintaining no buy. I would have got back. And then I got the rewards at the end of that end of the year. Again, we went close and didn't sort of win a grand final. We went deep in the finals, but then got picked for Australia again and played every game of that tour and played in the Four Nations final in England and in Darren Lockyer's last game. So I was like, if you said to me at the start of the year or that first week when I just came here, in end of November, you're going to be holding the Four Nations winning trophy with Darren Lockyer, I'm like, you're off your head.
That's unreal. So week 3, dislocated hip.
Yeah.
They said, that's it for the season. You said, fuck that, I'm going to come back in 90 days.
Yeah.
Turn that into massive action. Got back in 98 days. We'll just say it was 90 days.
It was about a week for over, but buying there.
And then you played for Australia at the end of that year and won some silverware.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah, so the only time I've ever cried after a game was when we lost to the Warriors deep in the semis, because I was like, we had won like 10 in a row.
You went through that streak, I remember that one.
10 in a row, and I'm like, we're not getting beaten. We had 2 of our forwards, I think Bryce Gibbs and Gareth First get injured early, and we hit the lead, and then just the Warriors ran us down, and Manly ended up beating him in the grand final. But yeah, I was like, just because of how much effort to come back, it just broke me, because I was like, and then again, the roller coaster of footy, a week later, I get the call up for Australia. I'm like, pick me up. Wow. And then, so yeah, roller coaster of footy all in 1 year.
Fuck, that's unreal, dude.
So yeah, that was, and that's the number one. And then the second one, 2019, back in my career, sort of different stage of my life, but then had a head clash at training 2 days before the first trial, and we're in New Zealand, and basically broke every bone in my face. So it was a head clash with Benny Madalino. I've sort of lifted my head, he's dropped his head, hit me in my cheekbone, and basically my face imploded. Every bone was broken, and eventually had to get 11 or 12 sort of plates, and which are still in there, just sort of reconstruct the face. So funny enough, that was painful, but less painful than the hip. But so I was sitting there for a while, and I'm just trying to gesture to the physios, give me some pain medication. Couldn't talk because all the blood was rushing down the back of my throat, and it was hard to get any air in. And then I'll be there in 5 minutes. No, I'll be there in 10 minutes. And eventually the physio said, look, mate, I'm going to be honest. We could be here for a couple of hours. I don't know what it's going to be and how long. And there was a moment where I panicked for a bit, because I thought I was really struggling to breathe. I thought, if I panic and stop breathing, there's no one's got anything here to help me. So I'm literally on my own here. So I sat down with Ronnie Palmer, literally on the ground of the oval, and just tried to get that air, just focus on one breath at a time, getting that air in. And we were there for about 45 minutes. The ambulance came. So into there in the hospital and when surgery, and they said, no. They said, we can't get surgery now. Your face is too swollen. There's too much damage in there that you got to wait at least a couple of weeks for the swelling to go down
Couple of weeks?
before doing anything. So, but then we're in New Zealand, so I had to be wait in the hospital for a week, then wait at basically a hotel at the airport because I couldn't fly back because they said
The altitude,
altitude, because all the badly the eye socket, they said good chance you'll lose your eyesight.
Fuck.
So I have to wait for the swelling to go down enough that it's not going to re-swell up. So 2.5 weeks waited there, flew back home, and then eventually got surgery like 4 weeks later. The week after surgery was a lot more painful, and then the recovery because I went for a period of 10 weeks, I think 8 to 10 weeks with no solid food. So I dropped 13 kilos, like was just a shadow of myself, and was just, it got to a point mentally, back end of that was hard because after the surgery, they said you can't sneeze, you can't sweat, you can't do anything. And I've gone from, say, the previous injuries where with the hip, I'm like proactive, take your mind off it. Sure. And I'm a proactive person. I just sit and do nothing. I had to do nothing. That was hard. And then got to a point, mentally the hardest probably part, and where I sort of had to then take a step back. And, you have your good days and your bad days. Really bad day I had was when I just walked down to the local IGA. Obviously, a lot of people in the local area, hadn't seen me for a while and wanted to see how I was, and ran into someone, or a couple of people who basically said, "Oh, your face looks so different. You don't look like yourself." But add on the fact, yes, the structure was different. 13 kilos lighter. You can imagine, didn't look like myself, and I just became so self-conscious. So. I was like, nah. So I didn't want to leave the house. And then I'm like, nah, the surgeon's done a terrible job. I just got angry. Wow. I rang up the surgeon blowing up. Nah, you need to go and, you need to see me. So I remember going to the surgeon's office, and he's like, mate, it's going to take time. And
corrected the swelling
and putting on weight. And, that will change. He goes, yes, but the structure's changed a bit. I don't know what you're going to achieve, but I just was frustrated. But I remember then, it was probably then leaving the hospital, and then you start to see people, and I saw a kid with his mum with a drip, and you're like, kids who are actually sick, and I'm like, straight away, just instant, what are you carrying on about? I had no idea what that, he was, could have been for a flu for all I know, but I'm like there are bigger things, and kids with and people who are actually sick, and you're carrying on because your face has changed a bit. So what? You still got your limbs, and you still got everything else. And that again, you go through the highs and lows when you go through an injury like that. And that was probably my worst sort of and hardest period. And then that perspective did help me get through the back end of it. And then once I got back and could start training again, then that helped, because it's straight away into, I know this process, back into training and start working. So yeah, my wife said when she visited me in New Zealand, you're never playing again. And I said, oh yeah, we'll see. There was just something, that burning desire. Everyone said, oh, is it because you want to retire in my terms? And it was, but more than that, it was, I think in the back end of the career, a lot of players who had retired had said, everything was awesome, but being able to share that moment with family. Right. And I had a daughter that was only one when I got injured, or 1.5. And I'm like, she didn't understand that I played footy. Right. So I was like, I want to have that moment with her on the field. If I came back, she would have been, 2 or, and she would have been old enough to remember it and at least have some memories. I'm like, no, I just want that moment. Yeah. I'm coming back just for that moment. Phenomenal. So it was lucky. So I came back and played rest of that year, ended up playing the year after, but got a photo. Unfortunately, Sharks knocked us off at Leica. The winner, I think.
Was it a home ground at Leica? Was that your game?
Winner went into the finals that was 2019. Yeah. And they beat us. But end of the game, and I'd sitting up on my wall, just a photo of my daughter as well in Tigers jersey. So I'm like, well, when people ask me, I'm like, that's why I came by. Again, in end of my terms, yes, but if I gave it everything and they said, no, don't do it, I would have been content. But a lot of lessons learnt from both. And without the first injury, a quote I love is, every challenge and setback is preparing you for a moment that hasn't happened yet.
Wow, that's phenomenal.
Yeah, so some pretty heavy years.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah, no, some pretty unique ones.
And I bet when you think about playing for Australia, 250 games in the NRL for the Tigers, and a debut at 17, I bet when you think about all of that, probably the thing that sticks out the most of the hardships and how you've come back from those moments, right?
I think, yeah, it's just the roller coaster of it. Like, I think I look back, and to be honest, again, hindsight, like I look at some of my mindset later on in my career because of the injuries I had to deal with. I think if I had applied that mindset earlier on when I was probably physically in a better, would I have played better footy and things like that? Because I look at, was I too afraid of failure or too afraid of the outcome of if you fail or things like that? Whereas it's once you learn and have a big setback and you do fail, you're like, oh yeah, it's not the end of the world. Things go on. Like you in footy, you're in a bubble. You think everyone's watching a game. Like, yes, you got your core group of people, but the older you get in perspective and you're like, it's a game, I was early an overthinker, and I'm like, because I probably held on to my mistakes and things like that, and then got overthought when I got little injuries. But then when you get a big injury, you don't have the luxury. You're just like, well, you just got to deal with it, and you're like, oh yeah, you can get through it. And okay, well, I extended myself a lot more than I probably thought I had in me.
Yeah.
Well, what if I apply that to everything else? Like, you actually got a lot more in you when you think you're going your best, or you think but when you're actually pushed into a corner, you've got so much more in the tank.
That is incredible. Is there a scan of that? I think I've seen a scan, a photo of that scan. I think I saw it.
I got it somewhere. Yeah,
it was on the Footy Show once.
Got both the before and after, so you can see.
Okay, we'll show that to the listeners as well. All right, so let's kind of shift gears. That was phenomenal for background story. Do you want to just explain what you're doing now?
Yep. So I started an education company whilst I was playing. I went and did an online fitness course, but just struggled with the lack of support with, and you just needed that support.
Right.
And then right around the same time, my now business partner was like 90% of athletes. He played all junior reps, disengaged in school at 15, 22 years of age, was never going to take that next step into first grade, had to find something else. So I went to uni, dropped out of uni, then he went and did certain 3 and 4 at TAFE. And then we came together and we said, professional athletes can't go to TAFE 4 days a week. And I'm telling you, there's no way 90% of the athletes can do an online course by themselves.
Without the support.
So let's create a course. Because just of the lack of, because a majority of, especially initially rugby league players, have disengaged at school at 16, go, I'm playing footy. And everything's a skill. So not that they're dumb, but if you don't practice the art of learning, in whatever sense for 6 years, then you feel apprehensive because you're not sure how to use these things.
Gotcha.
So they have had a lack of confidence in learning. Some did have low literacy skills, but it was more that lack of confidence. So they just need that support building their confidence. So we started a fitness partner with an RTO and started delivering a fitness course to athletes and just providing that extra support alongside that. So we did that for, say, 5-6 years. Then we decided there's time to do some more tangible research. So we did a research project more for just get some survey data for how athletes wanted education delivered. That ended up going a bit longer, and we actually were approached by Western Sydney University to partner with them, go a bit deeper and have our findings academically published in the International Journal of Sport and Society, which we did, called Empowering Elite Athlete Education. But that gave us a model of learning we knew worked for athletes. Now, moving forward, we use that model with a few different groups. But from there, we started partnering with other RTOs and offering things outside of fitness. But we just sort of focus on fitness and had a failed attempt in that process of becoming an RTO right around those changes with vet training and vet fee help, where they just made it super compliant. And blessing in disguise, we weren't ready. So we took a step back and said, when the time's right, we're going to build it from scratch. So we built the RTO from scratch, the private college from scratch, and wanted to do it when I knew I was at the back end of my career, because that was the intention. Okay, we're with athletes now, but
you have the capacity
we've got the capacity. We're only got a small team, working with athletes. When we become our own RTO, there's a lot more around it. So we did started that process 2019, and then became an education provider. That's where One Training was born. So we sort of split the athlete side, which we still run, but One Training, which is the RTO. So that allows us to work not just with athletes now. We work in schools doing school-based traineeships. We work helping gyms not only find people from outside the industry, but upskill people within their industry.
All right, let's tap into that. Yeah. So you speak to hundreds of gyms all day long, right? I remember you said to me that the first 3 hours of your day, you were just fucking pounding the phone, speaking to gym owners. And you found that everyone had the same problem. There's this phenomenon that you found, and I'm a former gym owner, we had the same thing, but it got worse after COVID, was there's the missing middle. Yeah. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, well, I think, again, major reason, it probably happened and has been happening for a long time, but it's just been, I think, highlighted by COVID. Having 2 years of, obviously, you said 50% of gyms closed down. A lot of the conversations the gym owners we have is that in that period, anyone who was first, second, and probably third year experience in just left the industry because they were just starting out as casuals, weren't have the hours, there was no security, so they had to leave and find something else. So then when gyms opened back up in 22, 23, you had a gap where you had only people who were just finishing their qualification who might have started doing education during COVID, during the lockdown, and then a gap where you had like 5 or 6 year and you're like head PTs, head trainers, head coaches, but no one in the middle. So we're still catching up in closing that gap because we're only sort of 2 years on. So you still have got a year or two experience. Right. But those middle tiers where you're probably now year 3, 4, 5, who are more senior trainers, but are yet not gym manager level or head coach level, there's that missing. So you've got sort of some more inexperienced trainers, and then those who are forced to probably do more training but really want to ascend to a head coach, head manager level, and then that missing middle. And that's where a lot of gyms say we can't find good staff, and that's what they mean. It's that experienced trainer that isn't probably ready to take over a gym yet and wants to, but is probably a year or two off and has enough runs under the belt. They've run enough classes, had enough personal clients themselves to be able to, and know all the members to, again, help bring in members themselves and help with that retention. So one of the hardest things, and again, as education providers, we do have a responsibility to help gyms with that. So what we're finding is one of the best solutions, I suppose, is, and we've had this conversation a lot, I would say 85% of our inquiries outside of the gym are from people in a different industry who have worked in, would be finance, construction, 5-10 years. Like, I'm sick of it. I train all the time. I have a passion for it. I want to change industry. And they're the people that I think are going to be ideal and fill that void, particularly in the next few years, because of the simple fact that they have experience, life experience. And if they've got the passion for it, they just need the skills and qualifications.
That's what it is, dude. This is what I was saying the other day. Like, back when we had our studio, I got to a point where I was already feeling this in 2021, 22. Yeah. I was already feeling this, right? We'd just come back out of the lockdown, back into the studio, and Soph was sort of ascending up into Geronimo. Yeah. And so I needed someone to replace Soph in the studio. But I felt the same thing. So I was putting out job ads out there. I spent a lot of time writing some job ads. And I just found that it wasn't because of the job ad. There was just like, they fucking left. Yeah. People left. Yeah, so then what I realised was, okay, I've got to find this person from outside the industry. I wrote this job ad and I put it into a different part of Seek and Healthy People. Yeah. And I got someone call me from Seek and I was fighting with this person on the phone and they're like, Isha, I said, just fucking place it. Yeah. Just place it. I know it's outside there. Yeah. And they're like, no, it's meant to be in this part. I said, no, I want it out there because our philosophy was character over qualifications. Yeah. We wanted to hire the person and then we'll fucking find them the certs. That's my biggest message to people that are looking for this unicorn trainer. They don't fucking exist. We feel like the best trainers, the best staff members are built. Yeah, they're not, brought in. My challenge to anyone listening to this is think about your hiring funnel. So think about your hiring funnel in terms of the top studios that we work with. They've got pathways now into their studio. Now, that's not going to help you to find an experienced trainer today because that just helps you bring in the new blood. That's your first step. The second step is think outside the box. And I guess that's kind of like the pre-frame to some of the stuff that you do with gym owners. But if I had a gym to this day right now, and we work with hundreds of gyms all over the world, we're constantly telling these guys, think outside the box. Our members loved Soph because they could relate to her. Yeah. But what she did before she started working with me, she used to work at a fish and chip shop and then a Thai restaurant before that. Yeah. We got her the certs afterwards. Yeah. Listeners, this isn't a plug. Like, there'll be some links in the show notes. I just want to kind of talk more about what do we actually do to help you guys? What is the advice that we would give you guys?
Well, I think even, and I'll touch on that in a sec, I think 100% agree it's character over qualifications. And even, so going back to the qualification side of things, it is rigid in a sense. Like every RTO, we can add on in terms of the training structure, but there are a set amount of units, there are a set amount of core competencies that we have to cover. Some of them are dry and we have to do them to give the qualification. So you are going to get your best form of training by being on the job, by actually being 100%. like anything, theory can only give you so much, simulation practical can only give you so much. It's actually working in the industry. So yes, you need to get A to then do B, but being able to then go, you're the right person, we get the qualification and do the training and develop you how we want you to is obviously the best step. And in terms of outside the box, definitely the first step. If you're looking for someone, straight away reach out to your members. I guarantee there's at least one of your members. One of your members is one of those people who is like, I've been thinking about changing for a long time, not sure because it's just a risk, and it's like, I don't want to take that jump. So first of all, I would definitely do that. But we've had, hospitality, construction, finance. Yeah. So those three have probably been the ones where it's, again, a high pressure industry where people are wanting to have a more flexible or a career that's going to have more of an impact and going to suit with their passion or their lifestyle and health and fitness. So high pressure industries, I've seen a lot of people wanting to get out of those.
That's a big tip, team. If you're listening to that and you're like, fuck, I want to find someone with a bit of, they might not come with a lot of years experience on the job, but they're going to come with life experience, which when you think about what we do as a service, we're actually in a relationship business. We just run some fitness classes. Yeah. Your members want someone to relate to. And if someone's been out in the workforce and they've done 10 years out there working for, would you say hospitality, finance?
Hospitality and a lot of construction. Especially a lot of guys in construction just sick of pounding their bodies, want to train and are like, I don't want to be getting up and just you're doing labouring for all this time. And
if they have been training because they've got a personal passion in training, they probably know more than the first year out of,
because they're doing, again, their experience comes in, in the gym, plus they have experience working with people, working in a team with their own job. They work with, different client suppliers. So they understand customers as well and clients. So
and so then all you need to do is formalise that by getting them a cert.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So, and I think going back to how we can help, obviously, we're an RTO, so we deliver across, all different aspects, but we also have a state government contract at the moment where we can provide eligible employees of gyms fee-free, either Cert 3 and 4. So it's a great recruitment and retention tool, which basically means if you can bring on a eligible employee, so they've got to be Australian resident, have to be employed minimum 15 hours a week of part-time, and a new entrant. So if you're looking for staff and you're like, what, I wanted someone with both quals, then we have the opportunity to say, well, we can give them a fee-free.
For free.
So right now it's subsidised by the New South Wales government until the end of June next year. And again, being fully transparent, it's what you're after. There are other RTOs that are going to be better in some aspects than us. We're not the cheapest. So if you're looking for solid price, go to them. But if you're looking for, the support, because the model we've built is about what we call scaffolded learning support in first 30 days. We know that if we can get our students through the first 30 days of work, our completion rate goes 85%.
That's what we do.
If you get in a routine, a habit, and build momentum over the first 30 days, the likelihood you'll stick with that is really different. So it is what you're after.
So team, the parts here that I want to underline is that, Chris speaks to hundreds of gym owners. You probably speak to more gym owners than I do. There is definitely the missing middle. There's that middle part of the workforce that doesn't exist because that's the generation that left through COVID. The options you have right now is you can either keep fighting with that and keep bringing on the sort of first year out, which there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that your members are probably lacking some depth and some experience, and you might be holding on to this one or two, team members that you've got who you're probably they know that they've kind of got you over a bit of a barrel here. So you might be kind of being a bit lenient with them, and there might be some negative effects that might be happening with your team. What I did and what I would still do today is I would be focusing on character over the qualifications. Look at your membership base, ask your members, ask your friends outside. We put some job ads out there that were outside of the personal trainer category on Seek, which is why they fought with me, because I was looking for someone who's running a Telstra shop, business manager, an operations manager from outside, which is who we found. We found someone who was an operations manager at McDonald's. The best, right?
Yeah.
Luckily, he had his certs, but he left because of the same reason. He left because of I don't think there's a future in this. Went and worked at Macca's for a while. And then it's only because of the job ad sort of spoke to him. He knew that he could come back to the ultimate studio manager role. And that's what he did. And he took us through the second lockdown, which he was phenomenal. The best trainers, I believe, are outside the industry. So how do we do that in a way that is also legal? It sounds like the government's helped us out. There's a way that we can do that where we find the person, the qualification can happen afterwards, and no one has to actually pay for that.
And
in some states.
So New South Wales. So just wanted to clear. So this state government, New South Wales. So again, it's tied to employment. There again some other further eligibility requirements, but again, main one. If you're employing them, they're considered new entrant. So if they're part time, started less than 12 months, or full time less than 3 months. So you've just brought them in, and you're like, what? I wanted them to have Cert 4. I wanted them to have, or again, we're finding a lot of the reception, marketing, admin team. They're like, what? we just bring them in. Ideally, if they have their Cert 3, perfect. You can get them a Cert 3 because we are finding some of those staff are wanting to convert and do some time on the floor.
Yeah.
So, there's that mix of that early in and that. So, and in terms of, finding the people, because find what you're trying to get after. So whatever role you're trying to find, what are the qualities in that role? And that's the type of people you find. The perfect example is the McDonald's Operations Manager, someone, again, who can follow systems, they can manage, the staff. So you're after the skill set and the person. And again, the qualifications can come.
So that's a big lesson there. In terms of if people want some information about that, we can put some links in the show notes.
Yeah, link in the show notes, onetraining.edu.au. Just click on the fitness tab and all the information there. Put your details in and I'll give you a call.
Great. There's normally 2 questions we ask people at the end of a pod.
Yep.
So the first question is, what do you wish I'd asked you and how would you have answered it?
I'll probably have to answer it, but if you were to look back, probably on, let's say on your playing career, what would you have done differently?
Okay, that's a good one.
And I sort of half answered it in that I think I was too afraid to fail early on.
Right.
I think that held me back from extending myself and probably making mistakes I needed to make, or, the failures and the setbacks I needed to have. It was only having to go through the injuries, you realize it actually is a blessing because you extend yourself beyond what you think is possible, and it gives you a lot of skills and tools. So I probably think that would be, again, hindsight is a great thing, but if I could go back and the start of my career and say fail more, try to go and fail more, because the quicker you fail, you realize it's not the end of the world and you're like, cool, and then you just go forward. It's not just failing for the sake of it, but by trying to extend yourself and failing and picking up those lessons. That's probably the one thing.
It sort of reminds me of I'm teaching my kids how to ride a bike at the moment, and I think they're so worried about falling, they're not riding.
Yeah, exactly right.
And so as soon as Amaya fell, and she realised it actually wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
She ran up to the shops yesterday and brought home the bread. It's just, you're right. It was the fear of falling that prevented her from riding.
Yeah, exactly right. And then it sets you back, in terms of, and you could overthink it for so long.
Yeah.
People avoided doing anything, chasing anything because they're worried about what other people, and again, it's not a fix. I still, think, should I do this, or what will people think if I say that or do that?
Yeah.
And it just try to be aware to think, look, again, that's fine. Go, and when you're starting something new, you're gonna suck at it. As a segue, I can finish footy. I can't come in, even though I'd started a business, come into full-time really business in the last, few years, and be arrogant enough to think I'm going to be an expert at even let's say cold calling. Yeah. I was a professional athlete because before I played my first game, I played and honed my skills since I was 5 years old. So, 12, 15 years. So you're going to suck it. And it's just getting over that. It's okay if you're not, and you don't get it perfect right first go. A lot of footy players go and want to start a business and spend 6 months trying to perfect the business plan. I'll get this, and just start. And then just keep going. And and I think that's the best lesson I've started learning. Learned from footy, and then now learning in business. It's just do it. You're gonna be shit at the start, but you'll get better.
Are you involved in any other business?
Yeah, was fortunate enough invested into a Australian-based hydration and supplement company called VitaDrop a few years ago. Had been doing a bit of work with a couple of guys who were the founders, a medical scientist and a team of marketing experts. So really good mix when you're looking at doing a hydration and supplementation company. And for me, it was a no-brainer. It was, when talking about the passion they had, I'm like, these guys are passionate and they are going to do something big. Plus, it was a product. For me, every single morning, I would, prior to investing in VitaDrop, have a Hydrolite with my supplements every morning, because I love my coffees, drink that many coffee, so I need to stay hydrated, and that was my weekly routine. But having a better solution that I can actually get your B vitamins, get all your essential vitamins and your hydration in a ready-made powder, as well as ready-to-drink cans when I don't want to have the afternoon drop off, and I can have a energy boosting hydration drink. And we're about to do a collaboration via Drop in One Training. There's a really good obviously fit with work in the gym space. So I actually have just spoken about doing a special little gift for the first 30 of the listeners. So just go to vitadrop.com.au/one training. Check it out. First 30 in, we'll get a free little gift pack, and I'll make sure I send you across some
nice
product as well.
Okay, wait, hang on. So the first 30 listeners of this podcast.
First 30, go on, submit the details. We are going to be launching something in the next couple of months. It's not ready yet, but we would love to get, again, we are going to be...
Is this a scoop?
This is a scoop, but it is designed for trainers, gym owners.
Oh, wow.
So we do want to get some feedback. So we want to obviously provide some free product and, just get a bit of feedback for how this can help. For me, I've just embedded it in terms of my daily lifestyle. Again, it was a no-brainer for me. And it's been interesting. I've been involved obviously within health and fitness and high performance, and it's a different side of things, which I'm really enjoying. So
100%. Team, there you go. It's our first giveaway.
Yep.
On the pod from Rowdy. Jump on.
First 30, vitadrop.com.au/one training.
Oh, unreal. Thank you for that.
All good.
Last question. Who do you reckon I should interview next that you know and that you could intro us to?
So in terms of high performance leadership, I'm not sure if you've spoken with Dan Hasler.
No.
Dan Hasler, leadership expert. I think it's Habits of Leadership podcast. Don't quote me. I think it's that. But does a lot of work. He's leadership consultant with the Panthers. He's run a few of our workshops and different short courses we run in amongst with our athletes. Good guy. A lot of the concepts he brings up in terms of a team environment, I find very relatable to the business sense, not just sporting sense. So would definitely be one which I'm happy to make that intro to.
And what should I ask him?
For the biggest part is, and going full circle back to the generation and how in terms of respect, the one thing is, how do you get every person comfortable to say what they feel, but still be respectful enough of the seniority of a team? So again, how do you
feel heard, but respect the hierarchy?
Yeah, exactly. How do you get someone in a gym to go, you know what, I respect the manager for not just their position, but the person they are, but I feel comfortable enough to voice, I don't think this is right, and to question them, but still go, you know what, I'm going to buy into what they say. Not like I'm not going to listen. So
you reckon that's what happens at the Pan? Like, is that part of the success?
Yeah, part of it. And that's the biggest challenge in rugby league. It's, again, how do you get young players to feel comfortable speaking their mind, but then at the same time going, when the captain goes, we're doing this, going, I'm all in on what you're doing.
Love that. Well, thanks for coming on, Rowdy. That's unreal. And thank you for the gift as well for the first 30 listeners. Team, really important that you hear that and think about when you talk about, your team design, your hiring strategy and your hiring funnel and sort of like continuity in your business, that you're always thinking about pathways into your business for your talent, and always be looking for talent, even if it sits outside of the health and fitness industry. If you have anyone that you think needed to kind of hear that pod or might find that interesting as well, please share it with them. Aside from that, where can the team find you? Where can the listeners find you?
So again, our website, onetraining.edu.au, or on my socials on Instagram or Twitter, Chris Lawrence 04. Give us a follow, send us a direct message. And any way you want to get in contact with me, always happy to chat. Whether it's business, chat about how I can help out, with your own gym or studio, or if you're going to bag the Tigers, I'll block you.
All right. Thanks, mate.
All right. Thanks, mate.
Cheers.